Welcome to the Sky Commander Flight Brief. It's your mission-ready podcast for drone pilot training and aerial insights across Canada.
From Transport Canada rules to real-world drone ops, we break it down, take you higher, and help you earn your wings. Because here at skycommander.ca, we don't just fly.
It hints there's more to it. It's a masterclass, a deeper level, maybe a philosophy or a community focus, perhaps.
It's definitely intriguing, sets them apart from just, a basic tips show. Skycommander.ca is the obvious next step. Precisely. If you're thinking about flying a drone in Canada, boom, this content is aimed right at you.
Powered by skycommander.ca.
The elite podcast for Canada's drone pilot. Okay, let's get started.
Tonight, we are stepping into, one of the most intense environments imaginable. We're talking professional search and rescue.
Yeah, we're going deep into the high-stakes world of missing person searches. At night, when the sun goes down, everything changes. The gear, the rules, the pressure. It's a whole different game.
It really is. You see that missing poster? The clock ticks past sunset, and the operation has just entered a critical new phase. And the source material we're working from today, it's not about making cool cinematic night videos.
Not at all. This is a cold, hard, professional playbook. It gets into the nitty-gritty of legal compliance in the US versus Canada, the specific sensitivity of a thermal camera you need to find someone, right down to the actual math you use to plan your search grid.
So our mission for this deep dive is really specific. We're trying to extract the protocols, the gear knowledge, the mindset that lets a public safety team operate effectively, legally, and most importantly, safely, when every second counts.
We're looking at what makes a professional,
Exactly. And that brings us to the core question we're trying to answer. What really separates a professional, public safety-ready night SAR team from, say, someone who just went out and bought a drone with a thermal camera?
And the answer, as we're going to see, isn't just about the price tag on the drone. It's about process. It's about compliance. And it's about this relentless focus on one thing, delivering decision-grade intelligence to the incident command, or the IC.
Decision-grade intelligence. I like that. So it's about setting expectations.
It is. The sources are really clear on this. Success in night SAR isn't always that Hollywood moment of, we found them instantly. Sometimes success is delivering actionable, verified data. It's about ruling out a huge search area with high confidence so the IC can move their exhausted ground teams to where they're needed most.
So the certainty of absence, that can be just as valuable as a find.
Often, it's the most critical piece of intelligence you can deliver.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start at the foundation, because the sources just hammer this point home. Before you even think about fancy thermal cameras, the mission is won or lost on safety and compliance.
Right. They call it the night ops triangle: legal, safety, and performance. And it's a hierarchy.
A hierarchy, not just 3 equal points.
Exactly. If you break the first 2, legal and safety, your performance means nothing. You've failed the mission, you've put people at risk, and you could get your agency's entire drone program shut down. Professionalism starts with knowing the regulations cold.
And the very first piece of regulation is that the term night isn't a feeling. It's not just when it gets dark.
It's a legal definition based on civil twilight. And this trips up a lot of people who are trying to squeeze in a flight right around sunset.
So that boundary is really about risk, isn't it? The risk to manned aircraft.
Precisely. It's about a measurable drop in ambient light where things get a lot more dangerous. So let's look at how the 2 big jurisdictions, the US and Canada, handle this.
Okay, let's start with the US and the FAA.
Right. So in the U.S., under FAA Part 107, civil twilight is that 30-minute buffer zone right before sunrise and right after sunset. If you're flying in that window or in total darkness, you're doing a night up.
And to do that, you need special training.
You need the night knowledge and training, yes, but critically, your drone, your SUAS, has to have anti-collision lighting that's visible for at least 3 statute miles.
3 statute miles. That's a huge distance, over 4.8 kilometers.
It is. And that tells you right away who that light is for. It's not for you, the pilot. It's for other aircraft in the sky.
Like a search helicopter that might be in the area.
A search helicopter, a small plane. They're moving fast, and at night, they've lost their ground references. They need miles of warning to see a small drone. The FAA is crystal clear on this. The light has to flash, and it has to be visible from that far away.
Okay, so now let's shift north. How does Canada handle it under their regulations? Is it the same focus?
It's a little different. Canada's approach, under CARS 901.39, focuses more on the operator maintaining control of the drone. The rule there is that you need lights sufficient to keep the aircraft visible to the pilot or the visual observer.
With or without night vision goggles, I see.
Right. Their main concern is maintaining visual line of sight, or VLOS. So, if I can put it this way, the U.S. rule is primarily about deconfliction, making sure you don't hit anyone else.
And the Canadian rule is more about control, making sure you don't lose your own aircraft.
You got it. And that brings up this key distinction between anti-collision lights and position lights. The sources use a really good analogy for this.
Let's hear it.
Think of a cyclist at night. The anti-collision light is that super bright flashing strobe. Its job is to warn cars and other people from far away, hey, I'm here.
Right, that's the 3-mile light for the drone.
Exactly. Then you have the position lights. Those are more like the steady lights that help you, the cyclist, see where you're going and stay oriented. For a drone, that's often a steady red light on one side and a green on the other, just like a plane's wingtips. It's so you, the pilot, can tell which way it's facing.
So even if you have the best thermal camera in the world, if you can't meet these lighting and visibility rules, you are grounded, full stop.
100%, which is why the real pros have what they call a belt and suspenders approach. They don't just rely on the drone's built-in lights.
They add another one.
They'll add a dedicated third-party anti-collision strobe. It's about redundancy. It guarantees they meet that 3-mile standard and adds an extra layer of safety.
But I'm guessing just slapping an extra light on there creates its own problems, doesn't it?
It can, and that's a great point. That's another one of those professional details. That bright strobe can sometimes create a glare or a bloom effect, reflecting off dust or mist in the air.
And it could actually mess up your own camera feed.
It could completely wash out your visible light camera. So you have to find that balance between being seen for safety and being able to see for your mission.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about the ultimate non-negotiable. The one rule that trumps absolutely everything else in a SAR mission at night.
If lighting is the foundation, this is the main pillar. The absolute career-ending mistake, the thing that can cause a catastrophic accident, is flying your drone while manned aircraft are in your search area without explicit tight coordination.
You're talking about search helicopters flying low, fast, in the dark.
Yes. That combination, night helicopters, drones, it's the no second chances scenario. Manned aircraft always have the right of way. So the professional rule is simple and absolute. If you don't have positive, confirmed separation coordinated with an air boss or the flight crew.
The drone lands.
The drone lands or holds immediately, no questions asked.
And in the chaos of a command post, how do you make sure that message gets through?
You need a pre-briefed, universal stop word. Something that cuts through all the other radio chatter. The sources suggest something like air traffic landing.
So when anyone on the team hears that,
everyone stops what they're doing, the pilot confirms they heard it, and they bring the aircraft down safely. It doesn't matter if you think you just saw the missing person. Manned aircraft safety is job number one.
I can see the tension there, though. An IC is desperate. The pilot thinks they're close.
And that's where discipline comes in. The remote pilot in command is the final authority for the drone, but that authority is bound by protocol. The cost of a few minutes on the ground is nothing compared to the cost of a mid-air collision. And that brings us to the tools you get to use once you've proven you can operate inside these boundaries.
This is where it gets really interesting for me. The sources break down the gear, the payload, not by price, but by function. It's a process. You move from detection to classification and finally to handoff accuracy.
It's a perfect roadmap. It's the difference between flying around and saying, I think I see a warm spot, and delivering intelligence that an IC can actually act on. You're solving 3 problems in an order.
So let's start with Tier 1, thermal. This is the detection engine. You can't even play the game without this.
It's the absolute minimum for a credible SAR drone. And the baseline for serious work comes down to 2 numbers, resolution and sensitivity. For resolution, you're looking for 640 by 512 pixels. Minimum.
And if you have less than that, say a 320 camera,
you're just not getting enough pixels on your target from a safe and effective altitude. You'll struggle to identify a human shape. 640 is really the entry point for professional work.
Okay, and then the second number, the one that really separates the gear, is sensitivity. That's the NET-D.
NET-D. Noise equivalent temperature difference. This is the holy grail of thermal performance. It basically tells you how small of a temperature difference the camera can detect.
So on screen, what am I seeing? What's the difference between a good and a great net?
Think of it like a fuzzy radio signal. A higher net, say around 50 millikelvin or 50 millik, is workable. You'll find that in some good mid-range drones. It's fine if you have a person standing in a cold, snowy field. Big temperature difference, easy to see.
But that's not the reality of most searches.
Exactly. The premium high-end stuff is down around less than 30 milli. Lower is better. And what that buys you is the ability to see very subtle heat differences. It lets you separate the person from the background.
So in what kind of tough conditions does that really matter?
When the air temperature is close to body temperature, or even more common when it's humid or foggy, water vapor just eats up infrared energy. That lower net is what lets you maybe see the tiny bit of heat leaking from someone's collar or their head when they're wearing a heavy wet jacket. It can be the difference between a find and a complete miss.
But even with the best thermal camera,
Right.
we need a reality check. The sources are very clear about this.
Oh, absolutely. This is critical. Thermal cameras detect temperature contrast. They do not detect humans. They see heat anomalies, that's it.
And they get really messy when there's a forest canopy blocking the view.
Or when the asphalt on a road is still warm from the sun, or when the person is just cold and wet. It can't tell you if that warm blob is a person or a coyote.
Which is how you end up paying the false lead tax.
Exactly. The sources say thermal alone is how teams chase deer all night. And every time you send a ground team on a wild goose chase, you're burning an hour, maybe two. You're burning their energy and you're burning your credibility with the IC.
Which brings us directly to the next level of gear.
Yes. Tier 2, the zoom and low light visible camera. This is your classification engine.
I love the analogy they used. If thermal is your metal detector, zoom is your shovel.
It's perfect. The thermal goes, beep, you found an anomaly. Now you need the shovel to dig in and see what it actually is.
But what are the key requirements for that shovel?
You need a super stable gimbal, first of all. You need true optical zoom, not just digital zoom, which is basically just cropping and losing quality. And you need a camera sensor that performs really well in low light. You're looking for that bipedal shape, the way a person moves, or even just the glint of a reflective strip on a jacket.
But what if you can't see the whole person? They're under a bush or something.
Then you're looking for secondary cues. Maybe you just see a shoe, or you see the way the heat signature moves. It's not the four-legged gait of a deer. You're trying to collect enough visual evidence to give the IC more than just a guess.
And this integrated approach is what you see in platforms like the Matrix 30T, where you've got wide, zoom, thermal, all in one package.
That integration is key for speed. The sensor operator can switch from thermal detection to optical zoom classification in a split second while still in the air. That's what prevents you from paying that false lead tax.
Which saves time and leads us to the final piece of the gear puzzle. Tier 3, the laser rangefinder, or LRF. This is the handoff accuracy tool.
And this is a huge professional separator. At night, it's not enough to find them. You have to be able to tell the ground team exactly where they are.
But hold on, doesn't the drone have GPS? Can't you just drop a pin from the drone's location?
You can, but that pin is for where the drone is. The target might be 100 meters below you and at a slight angle. A small GPS error plus the angle plus the terrain. Your pin could be off by 10, 20 meters.
And in the dark, with no landmarks, 20 meters is a very long way.
It's an eternity. The LRF removes all that guesswork. It shoots a laser and tells you the target is precisely 120 meters from the drone at that specific heading. You can then give the ground team clear, usable directions. He's 40 meters past that big rock at the bend in the creek. That precision is what builds trust.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the optional tools. The spotlight and the speaker. The sources call them a scalpel, not a flashlight.
A great way to put it. They are powerful, but they have very specific uses. The spotlight is not for searching. Thermal does that. It's for a quick, short burst of confirmation.
So just a quick flash to see what you're looking at with a visible camera.
Exactly. Flash it on, confirm the color of the jacket, turn it off. Or use it to illuminate a hazard for the ground team. If you leave it on, you get glare, you kill your battery, and you attract a lot of unwanted attention in urban areas.
And the speaker.
That's a communication tool to be used only after you have a high confidence find and you have approval from the IC. A simple message like, stay where you are, help is on the way, can be a game changer.
But the risks are pretty high if you use it wrong.
Oh yeah, privacy concerns, public perception. You can't just start blasting messages over a neighborhood. It has to be a controlled, approved part of the plan.
And the ultimate pro move.
Have those tools on a separate, dedicated drone. Keep your primary search drone light and optimized for endurance. Bring in the lighting drone only when it's needed for the final confirmation or recovery.
We've got the gear, we know the rules. But how does a professional team actually manage the chaos in the dark? It all comes down to protocol, structure, and managing the human element.
This is the shift from hardware to what you might call software, and the core idea is specialization. At night, You cannot have the pilot trying to do everything. That's a recipe for tunnel vision.
So let's break down that optimal team structure. The sources call it the cleanest setup.
Right. For a high-stakes night mission, you really want a minimum of 3 people, ideally 4.
First step, the RPIC pilot.
This person's job is one thing: fly the aircraft safely. They manage altitude, airspace, battery life. Their eyes are supposed to be looking at the drone and the flight data, not buried in the thermal screen.
Okay, so who's looking at the screen?
That's rule number 2, the payload or sensor operator. This person lives and breathes the sensor feed. They're controlling the camera, switching palettes, scanning for targets, and making the callouts. Mark, hold, need to repass.
And the third role is the visual observer, the VO.
Absolutely essential at night. Their only job is to keep their eyes on the aircraft and the surrounding airspace. Maintaining that visual line of sight in the dark is incredibly difficult. The VO is a dedicated safety layer.
And the fourth, the linchpin of the whole operation.
The team lead or scribe. This person is the buffer between the flight crew and the rest of the world. They handle all the communications with the IC, they log the leads, drop the pins, and export the video clips. They protect the pilot and censor up from distractions.
And that specialization is what allows them to avoid that false lead tax we talked about.
It's the only way. You have to be more disciplined than your own technology. Most of what your thermal camera sees will be a false positive. You need a process to filter out the noise.
So let's get into that process. What is the confirmation protocol that every single thermal hit has to go through?
This is the 60 to 90 second gatekeeper. It's what turns a maybe into actionable intelligence. There are 5 steps.
Okay, what's step 1? A target pops up on the screen.
Step 1, hold position. The pilot stops the forward movement and stabilizes the drone to give the sensor operator a steady look.
Okay, so you're hovering, then what?
Step 2, repass. You fly the same line again. If the thermal anomaly was just a sensor glitch or a weird reflection, it probably won't be there on the second pass.
And if it's still there?
Step 3, change angle. The pilot repositions the drone to get a look from 30 or 60 degrees off the original axis. This helps confirm the shape and rules out things like a piece of metal reflecting a heat source on the ground.
Now the crucial step.
Step 4, zoom AO. Classify. Switch to your visible camera, your zoom camera, and look for human indicators. Is it shaped like a person? Is it moving like a person? Can you see clothing?
And finally, you have to make a judgment call.
Step 5, assign a confidence grade, high, medium, or low, and this is key, the Y. You report back, medium confidence. Thermal shape is consistent, but I can't get visual confirmation because of heavy brush. That integrity is what builds trust with the ground teams.
That protocol really turns SAR into a game of probability and efficiency.
And that efficiency starts with the search plan itself. You don't just fly around randomly.
Where do you start?
High probability zones first, the last known point, or LKP. Linear features like trails, fences, riverbanks, people follow those, and terrain traps like ditches where someone might fall or take shelter.
Now for the really technical part the sources dig into, the math of coverage. How do you fly your grid so you don't leave any gaps?
You never, ever guess your lane spacing. You calculate it to ensure you have a specific amount of overlap. For a high-certainty search, you're aiming for 20 to 30% side overlap on every pass.
Okay, so you're hit me with a formula here. The swath width rule of thumb. Break this down for us.
It's simpler than it sounds. Your swath width is just how wide a patch of ground your camera sees. It depends on your altitude, H, and your camera's field of view, FOV.
So let's use the example from the sources, a pretty standard setup.
Right. Say your thermal camera has a 45-degree field of view, and you're flying at 100 meters. Your swath width on the ground is going to be about 83 meters wide.
Okay, so that's the width of one pass. But you need overlap.
Exactly. If you want 25% overlap to be safe, you take that 83 meters and multiply it by 0.75. That gives you your lane spacing, about 62 meters. You fly your next pass 62 meters over from your first one.
And that discipline, that math, is what allows you to tell the IC, Sector B is cleared to a 25% overlap standard. It's accountability.
That's the word. It's professional accountability. Now let's talk about the crew, because human factors are the silent killer on these missions.
We're not just talking about being tired. Night operations mess with your brain.
They really do. Your depth perception plummets. Fatigue hits you like a ton of bricks after about 90 minutes. And you get this thing called confidence lies, where you feel like you're doing great right up until you make a huge mistake.
So how do the pros fight that cognitive decline, that tunnel vision, from staring at a screen for hours?
With a very simple, low-tech solution, micropauses. They mandate a 60-second operational reset every single time they swap a battery.
And this isn't just a break, it's a structured checklist.
It's a structured reboot. In that 60 seconds, the team lead calls it out. Check airspace. Check comms with the IC. Confirm our next objective. Confirm our search boundaries. It forces everyone to pull their head up, break the fixation, and reset before the next flight.
A simple habit that can prevent a major error.
Absolutely. The sources also recommend rotating roles on long missions. Let the sensor up fly for a bit and let the pilot watch the screen. It keeps everyone fresher.
And finally, all this work has to be defensible. It's about data discipline.
The data you collect is potential evidence. You need extra SD cards on site, a card reader, and a way to quickly get a 10 or 20-second video clip and a screenshot to the IC.
And a strict naming convention.
Yes, something consistent, like date-time sector lids 01. You have to maintain a clean chain of custody. Sloppy data can make a brilliant find useless in an investigation later.
So if we tie all this protocol together, it's clear that the environment itself dictates your tactics. You can't use the same playbook in a forest that you use in a suburb.
That's the next level of professionalism. The source material lays out 4 distinct playbooks in what it calls the environment matrix.
Okay, let's walk through them. First up, rural fields and tree lines.
This is a classic search area. You have high detection probability in the open fields, but also a super high risk of false positives.
Deer. Lots of deer.
Deer, coyotes, warm rocks, you name it. So the professional strategy is edge first. You fly the tree lines and fence lines before you clear the open fields. Lost people gravitate to edges, and that's where you'll often get the best thermal contrast.
Next, the one everyone dreads, forest canopy. This is the hardest one.
It is. And the first thing a professional team does here is reset expectations with the IC. Your job isn't necessarily to find the person under the trees. Your job is often to map where your drone can't be effective.
So you're not searching the tops of the trees.
No, you're looking for holes in the canopy. Your strategy is to focus on the searchable zones, the clearings, the logging roads, the creek beds. You tell the IC, we can clear these open areas, but you'll need ground teams with canines for the dense interior. That's hugely valuable information.
Now for the opposite end of the spectrum. The urban edge, or neighborhoods. Highest risk for privacy issues.
And the highest risk for thermal confusion. You've got HVAC units, warm cars, vents. It's a mess. Your classification protocol has to be ironclad here, or you'll be chasing ghosts all night.
And the operational plan changes.
Dramatically. You need tighter perimeters, very controlled launch zones, and almost zero use of a spotlight or speaker. Your every move has to be defensible from a privacy standpoint.
Finally, water and riverbanks. High consequence terrain.
And very tricky for thermal sensors. You can get reflections and glare off the water surface. The strategy here is to fly very precise passes parallel to the shorelines, focusing on eddies and points where someone might have entered or exited the water.
Okay, so you've used the right tactic for the environment. You've gone through the confirmation protocol, and you have a high confidence lead. What does the final product look like?
It's not just a pin on a map. It's what the sources call the gold standard deliverable, the lead package.
A decision-grilled package that lets the IC act immediately.
And it has 5 parts. 1. Time and location, that's the GPS pin, plus a plain language landmark, 40 meters east of the big oak tree.
2. The confidence grade and the why.
High confidence, we have visual confirmation of a person waving. 3. The evidence. A still photo and that 10 to 20 second video clip.
4. Movement and direction. Are they stationary or are they moving north?
And 5th, and this is maybe the most important, a recommendation. Ground teams should approach from the west. The east side is blocked by a creek. You're not just finding a problem, you're helping to solve it.
When a team can deliver that package consistently, that's what redefines success.
That's the professional mindset. The mission is a success if you operated safely, provided clear, graded intelligence, and documented exactly what you searched, even if the outcome is a sad one.
So it's not just about what you found, but proving what you cleared.
That is elite communication. Telling the IC, Sector A is cleared, open ground is covered to our 25% overlap standard. The canopy pockets remain low confidence. That builds incredible trust because you're giving them certainty.
We've seen that night SAR is just this incredibly disciplined intelligence mission. It's governed by tight regulations and very specific gear.
And the difference maker is process. From calculating your lane spacing with a formula to that simple 60-second micropause you take every time you change a battery.
The core takeaway here seems to be, don't just buy a thermal camera and hope for the best. You have to buy for classification, the Zoom, the LRF, and you have to build the discipline to back it up.
At the end of the day, professionalism is about delivering data with integrity.
And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you to take away from this.
We've established that one of the most valuable things you can give a search command isn't the pin on the map showing where the person is. It's the clear, data-driven proof of where they aren't.
So think about what that means, the strategic value of that certainty of absence. When, with high confidence that a massive area has been cleared, what does that knowledge let you do with your most precious resources, your people, your canines, in that next critical hour?
How does that ability to definitively rule things out change your entire strategy? It turns a desperate search in the dark into a focused, intelligent operation. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.